Welcome back to the channel. My name's Adam Smith, and today we head into the finale for Below the Asylum from Awaken Realms. Now, if you haven't had a chance to check out my prototype unboxing, my how to set up video, or part number 1 of gameplay, definitely recommend you check those out first before continuing with this. I'll put a link to the entire playlist in the top right hand corner. In part number 1, we covered the first 4 rounds of gameplay. We're going to continue now with round number 5. We've reset our action tracks for both agents, and it's going to be the conductor starting things off. Now, the conductor has 2 cats. One of them is in play, the other one's on the agent tile. So if I want to bring in this one in order to help me out in the future, I have to be able to spend 2 potential. And I don't currently have any. It's a free action, but I need to get some more potential. In order to do that, I could prepare as an action that would give me 1, but I have to get up to 2 just to get this other cat in play. Or instead, I can bump up my potential by 1 with a prepare action and instead go ahead and just use Eerie Hiss with the cat that's in my space to help me out, because there's 3 enemies or fiends in my space right now. Now, the other option I have is to use a banish action. So instead of using actions to prepare in order to use my cat to try and push things out, I could banish with actions instead, trying to see if I can get rid of pushing them out or killing them or potentially shifting in the case of the needle claw. It's going to be interesting as to how I do this because there's a lot going on here. Now, what scares me a little bit is the fact that this character only has 1 blue die when it tries to banish, which is not a lot. It allows for, at best, 2 damage or 2 push on a single die roll. So that's not really going to do much for some of these larger individuals. However, if I choose to go ahead and set a skull in my room, I can gain an additional 2 push or an additional 2 damage in any combination. And my conductor does have a skull, so let's go ahead and spend an action to banish, and we'll see how this pans out. And as it showed on the reference card, when we're banishing, we can set a skull in this room to get that benefit. Again, my character only has 1 blue die, so we'll see how things go, and then we'll choose how we want to use that skull. And we got ourselves 1 damage. So we got 1 damage. I could use a stamina to reroll that if I don't like it at the very top when banishing. So we set the skull in the room, and we can gain either 2 push or 2 damage in any combination. So I'd probably maybe be pushing towards the damage side, but let's see if I want to spend another stamina to reroll this. I have 2 stamina left. Do I want to push it further and do more? I think I'll risk it in this situation, so we'll drop our stamina from 1 down to 0, and we're going to re-roll this and hope for a better result. I want to see damage again, but I want a 2, and we got to push this time, so that is not going to work out. So now we can think about how we want to combo things together. I could do 1 push, and then from here I could take a single push and a damage, or I could take 2 damage, or I could take 2 push. I'm going to go with 2 push for the skulls. That'll give me a total of 3, and that'll allow me to push out both the Skinwalker and the Nurse. The Nurse needs 1 to push, and the Skinwalker needs 2. That at least gets rid of 2 of them out of the room. Or even better, I can actually push the Needle Claw, which is a much tougher opponent with a higher opportunity attack value. I could get that one out. Probably harder to deal with. We should push the Needle Claw out, I think. All right, so that's going to resolve that action. We're probably going to take another action here to banish. Now, this time I don't get to take advantage of placing a skull in this location and getting that additional benefit. I just go for the die roll only. So I don't get as much, but now I'm dealing with lesser opponents. So hopefully I can do something here with this die. We got a second action spent, and we got ourselves a single push. That is only going to be useful on the Nurse. I'm going to choose to go ahead and use this free action here that says treating your next action that you take as a free action. That sounds good. So instead of burning my 3rd action, I just get to take an action for free. I don't benefit from the bottom because unfortunately I'm not interconnected with any candles. There's no candle in my room. There's a candle next door here, but if I had one in here, that would be awesome, but I do not. So let's go ahead and roll the die here for a banish, hoping to get something decent, and it's a push again. I can still make use of that, so I'll push the Skinwalker, as it takes 2 to do so, into the room with the other Skinwalker. Before I decide what to do with my final action, there's something that I want to correct from part number 1. I placed it in the pinned comment and video description, and that is when you fill one of the special slots on one of the circles, which I did, as we did it right here in part number 1. When you do this, you can choose to either upgrade an ability card that you already have, or you get to take a new ability card. Now, because I'll be doing this retroactively, I'm not going to go ahead and upgrade the ability card I already have, because that would have gameplay impacts that would have cascaded through. So instead what I'll do is take one of the new cards, and of course I just missed out on being able to use it for a small portion at the tail end of part number 1. For those curious, here's a look at all the different ability cards I have for this character. There's quite a few that are very, very useful. I'm going to go with this one because I think it could come in very useful. For 1 potential as a free action, you can move the cat by 2, and of course you can upgrade it to make it even better later on, even through a rift, and then you move 1 component along with it, so the cat can actually bring the components into different rooms. When you fill in a special spot, both agents get the ability to upgrade one of their existing abilities or take a new one. So we're taking a new one here for Blade. Here are the different options that he has. Now this card is worded perfectly, a good laugh, exactly how I feel right now after not taking this card towards the end of part number 1 after we filled in the special slot, because this would have had me pushing up my craving every time he took a health hit, and that was quite often. And it's a reaction card that doesn't cost any potential. I've got one more action to spend, and I really can't stay any longer in the above. It is getting way too hot up here. We're going to have to get through that rift into the below, which is also bad, but there's not as many enemies in that area to at least take a breather. I do have a first aid kit on me, and unfortunately to take the rift, I'm going to have to spend a stamina, which is going to impact my health by 1. So final action is going to be to go through the rift. Moving, we're going to spend a stamina to do it. That is going to hit our health, dropping this down to the card, and this is going to reset back up to 3. And we've shown up back inside the summoning room. Whether this is a good idea or a bad idea remains to be seen. The shimmer card I got is pulling fiends from connected rooms, and we're going to go up on the track, the shimmer track, by 2, and that's going to have the nurse adjacent to me coming in. That's not the greatest, and we're going to go ahead and shift up our track. We're currently in the start position, so we're quite near the beginning. Now it's time for Blade to go. Blade's got lots of issues, lots of trauma going on. One we don't know about yet, and we don't have any potential at the moment. So we need to think about what we want to try and accomplish. And I am trying to get right now one of the greater seals, which I could get by doing this ritual, because as of right now on the dial, we do have things lined up in a way that I could actually place a candle, which I do have here with Blade, into a special slot. We just need to make sure we can satisfy at least the top portion of this card. And it tells us as a full action, we have to be in a room with the Needleclaw or the Monarch. We pay 2 potential, which I don't even have right now. And the reward is then the Greater Seal and checking the rest of the optional steps. So we need to get our potential up, and we also need to get into a space where things are not so hot. We're going to spend an action to do a banish. I'm in the same space as a Skinwalker. We're rolling 2 white dice and 1 blue die. Let's see how the dice do for us. We got 2 push off this. The damage is going to be completely useless. I could use stamina to reroll, but I'm not going to. Let's just go ahead and push this individual from this room over here. My second action will be to prepare. There's an item in this room I want to check out, but first we jump up by 1 on the potential track, so now I have 1, finally. Stamina is going to go up, but it's already at its maximum, so it stays there. I'm going to drop a component in the room, candles. When I do this, I'm able to bump my potential up to maximum as well as my stamina. The main reason I'm doing this is because I need my potential to be at least at 2 to be able to pull off the advanced ritual in the future. And now we're going to go ahead and check out this item. So we gained an item, and if we want, we can discard it for a spellbook, or we could keep it as an action. We can go ahead and close a rift in our room. In a room with a book, we can then move afterwards. I'm going to choose to discard this. I want to have the book component because when I'm being attacked, I can actually place a book in my room to avoid 2 opportunity attack draws. So I'm definitely going to take the book. So I've got 2 spell books and 1 skull here on Blade. We're now going to take the third action to interact with the Explore card up there. Now there is an opportunity attack icon there next to the action. You might be thinking from part number 1 that I have to take an opportunity card, but as I mentioned in the pinned comment and video description of that video, I actually made things harder on myself in some instances from part number 1, where I took an opportunity attack based on the icon being present when there was no fiend in the room or no monarch. There has to be an enemy in the room for that to actually trigger. So in this case, because I cleared out the room, I just resolved the card. The card I found is called Familiar Window. As an action, again, an opportunity attack can potentially happen. Place your agent in any other room with the eye icon. That actually would have been absolutely awesome in part number 1 very early on when I was trying to get to a room with an eye icon. Time for a shimmer card for my character. The strongest fiend in the same world as me is going to move 2 toward me, and my track's going up by 1. And unfortunately, the strongest fiend is going to be the Needleclaw coming right into the room with me. And now we head into round 5's event phase. It's going to be a bit scary as we move into the next chapter, chapter number 3. We don't have any changes happening on the dial whatsoever in the top left, but fiends in rifts are going to shift, then fiends are going to move, and the only one moving the most is going to be the nurse at 2. Now in this case, we actually do have quite a few individuals at risk right now. We have one down here, which will go through the mirrored location. This one over here, these 2 skinwalkers going through the mirrored. And in the below, we have 1 in a rift. That's going to be coming through to this location. Remember again, when any of the fiends move or are shifted, if they're in a group with multiples of them, only 1 is going to move. So from the group of 2 that was here, only 1 is coming through. We're now welcome to chapter number 3, which I do not want to be a part of at this point because it doesn't sound good. It says, if there are fewer than 5 rifts open in the highest numbered room with at least 3 fiends, open a rift. We currently have 5 rifts in play, so that new rift is not going to occur, and that's good news. We actually do have a group of 3 up there, but again, because we're at 5, we can skip past that instruction. Going down to the bottom, it says, in the world with the fewest fiends, spawned a nurse and a skinwalker in each room with a surgery table, then refresh all item tokens in both worlds, that's wild, and then resolve the Monarch activation. The fewest fiends are going to be in the below, which is unfortunate because that's exactly where both of our characters are right now. So a nurse and skinwalker in each room with a surgery table. We got both nurses out, but we only had 1 skinwalker to pull out, so it goes in the lowest numbered room. Moving on, we refresh all item tokens in both worlds. So the one we uncovered up there in the top right has now been brought back, and the 2 uncovered in the above are coming back. And now we're resolving a Monarch activation. Wish me luck, this could be brutal, and we are in chapter number 3 now, so we're resolving the top, which is the always, and the chapter 3 section. So first off, it says, agents in the Monarch's world resolve trauma cards. That is going to be bad. If the Monarch is not in a room with agents, open a rift there. This looks pretty rough. We're going to be resolving trauma for both of our characters, but the only trauma is going to be with Blade. This could be very bad for him. And then the Monarch is not in a room with agents, so another rift comes in. That is a total of 6. If we're called upon to pull 1 more rift into the equation, we're going to lose. 2 of them we're aware of. The other one's going to be a complete surprise. This one says drowning. Pick up 1 ritual component from your room. There actually is 1 in my room, and then discard the rest. Well, we actually get to take 1 in that case, so it's not too bad. So we got the candles back, and now we go to Tooth and Nail. It says to roll 4 banished dice. We're losing a health for each one of the pushes that we roll. It's going to be pretty brutal. Let's see what happens. That's going to be 3 pushes. Now, per the prototype rules as they're written right now, it appears that the spending of stamina in order to re-roll happens typically during a banish, because that's normally when you're rolling dice, but I also believe you could do it in this instance as well. So we're going to spend 3 stamina to re-roll all of these. I do not want to take this damage, so we're going to drop ourselves down to 1, which is quite a bit of stamina to spend. We get 1 roll at this to try and change these results. Let's see what happens. All right, so we ended up with just 1 push in the end. That's not too bad. Oops, I keep knocking dice over. My new ability here is a reaction that does not cost any potential. It says when losing any number of health, you're going to gain 1 craving up to a maximum of 4. You can also punch this up even further with upgrades, but for right now, I'll take the 1 that's going to go up on my sword to the 1 position from 0. So my sword is jumped up by 1, and I'm also going to lose 1 health, drop myself down to paranoid and bleeding. The trauma card tells me I can use the dice roll against enemies in my room, but unfortunately, with 4 damage and 1 push, it's not enough to do anything to the needle claw. It's now time to find out what this other trauma is all about. Not looking forward to this. Let's see what it says. Tooth and Nail. Oh my gosh, we're doing the exact same thing. Well, this can be painful, and it's probably going to trigger my paranoia and bleeding. Let's see how this goes. All right, wow. So we got ourselves 1 push, which means 1's coming through, and I do have the ability, without taking any more health hits, to go 1 more and reroll. Let's reroll this one here and hope that we get a better result, and we did. We actually avoided somehow, some way, that push. What's brutal, though, is that we only got 4 damage, and that Needle Claw needs 6 in order to shift it out of the room. Either way, I'm okay with it actually kind of being in there because, again, it's going to help us for the attrition warfare up here. We need to be in a room with a Needle Claw or the Monarch, and I'd rather be in there with the Needle Claw, to be completely honest. The Monarch activation tells us if the Monarch's in a room with no agents, another rift is coming. That's our 6th one in play, and again, a mirrored one in the above area as well. So now at this point, we really need to focus on closing at least 1 set of rifts. We now go down to chapter number 3, and it says, if there is no agent in the same world, the Monarch shifts. That's pretty wild, because normally by game rules, the Monarch will never shift, so this card obviously trumps that effect, but thankfully we do have agents in this world. But right now, because they're in the world, the Monarch's going to move 3 steps towards an agent with the least health, and then spawn a Needle Claw in the Monarch's room. So the Monarch's going to move from this area, definitely going after Blade as the weakest, heading straight into the room with 3 movement easily. Cannot spawn a Needle Claw, but there's already 1 in here anyway, so things are already bad. Now, each agent in a room with 1 or more fiends is going to resolve an attack card. Here we go. We're going to start things off with our main character, the Conductor. This card states the monsters draw 1 fiend attack card for each fiend in the room and resolve opportunity attacks from them. There's only 1 fiend in the room, so 1 card is drawn. Let's see what's on the very top of the card, and it's, of course, the loss of a health. And so unfortunately that is going to trigger this card right here as this resets back up, and we're going to discard this to gain 2 potential and 2 stamina. Stamina is already all the way up, but potential goes back up to 2, and this goes on to the next card. Now it's time to find out what's coming after Blade. Hopefully it's... Oh, no way, we got the You Lived card. I love that. So we're going to go ahead and reshuffle the entire Fiend deck. That's going to do it. We're now moving into round number 6, and we're going to reset our actions for both characters. I think this is the right time to do this. Even though I don't take advantage of the bottom portion of the card as a free action, I get the top, which means we gain 4 ritual components of our choice and divide them up between the different agents. I'm going to literally give all 4 of the ritual components to the conductor, so now we actually have the exact same identical components across both characters. I'm going to spend 1 action with the conductor to try to banish this nurse. Let's see if we can pull it off. We got ourselves a push 1. That's all we need to get it out. Second action, I'm going to move the conductor down to the needle claw. I'm going to focus on the conductor trying to do the advanced ritual rather than Blade, because Blade needs to start attacking and killing things off and also trying to survive. Now what's awesome about the advanced ritual, unlike the lesser rituals, if there was an enemy in my space, I'd have to take an opportunity attack. In this case, I don't have to at all, which is awesome. So we'll go third action to do this. It says in a room with the needle claw or monarch, pay 2 potential, which is exactly what I have here. So we'll go ahead and pay that, and we gain a greater seal. Now, I haven't been focused on the optional steps, but that's mainly because if I choose to take one, I would take an opportunity attack from this needle claw if I was in the space and I wanted to, say, for instance, drop one of my skulls in one of my books to gain 2 seals. I could have done that before I did this actual ritual, which would have given me more seals in the end, but I would have taken an opportunity attack at 3 drawn cards. That's insane. I do not want to risk that, so I didn't do it. Now, do we have anybody else that has a Fiend? Oh, and we don't. Even way over in the above where we have 2 components that match this, there's nobody in that space currently, which is unfortunate. Below it says there are 2 interconnected books with a surgery table. I'm just taking a quick glance around to see if that's the case anywhere, and I don't believe there's 2. Nope, not in a row. And then if there is a candle in a room with a rift, not at all. So there is nothing we're gaining off of any of the optional steps this time around, but we do get this greater seal. The good news is the conductor does have a candle, and there's a connection point right here to be able to place the seal as we cross from the inner back to the outer. We can seal this up because we have this component and place it in this slot. And when we fill a special spot, as I forgot in part number 1, but I'm not going to forget this time, we're going to upgrade either an existing card we have, ability card, or take a new one. So as I'm choosing to upgrade a current ability, we get to choose one of these 2 slots, or one of these 3 slots on this one, or one of these 2 slots, or one of these 2 slots on this character. I think it's a good laugh is going to be triggering quite often. Let's go ahead and gain the brackets that match this, which is going to be the lower portion. So we're also going to be bumping up our sword when we have a good laugh, but we'll also be gaining potential at 2 as well. Now I'm going to choose to go ahead and upgrade my cat's night vision, allowing me to take 2 components with the cat when it moves. The next ritual we can go after is a rite of banishment. We can use an action in the same room as a skinwalker, discarding a skull from the room. And the reward, of course, is the greater seal, but there's a whole bunch of other things we can potentially get seals-wise. Now, the thing that's been a bit brutal for the conductor is I haven't been able to get my potential up enough to be able to make use of my cats as often as I want to. So that's something that I could try to pull off with prepare actions, but there's been so much to focus on, I haven't been able to really get there. But in the future, I would like to get those cats more productively moving around the game board to help me out. The conductor's turn is in the book, so a shimmer card comes up. If we're in the below, which we are, the monarch is going to move 1 towards us. And that's actually great news for Blade because the monarch moves south, heading towards where the conductor is, which means I have a path to get out now and I don't have to deal with as much in the future. Now, the next thing it states below here is in the mirroring room, pull fiends from connected rooms. And for the conductor, based on the room I'm in, the mirrored room has absolutely nothing, which is awesome, so nothing happens there. But my shift track is going to go up by 2 per the 2 on the card, so we're going to be going 1, 2. We're getting closer to a forced shift. Now, something I just realized as I looked back is when we interacted with the Explore card way up there in the top right for Blade, when I went ahead and explained about the opportunity attack icon, I didn't actually gain a regular seal when I explored there, and I should have gained one at that time, meaning there should be one here in the circle for us. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. I'm glad I caught it because that might actually give us a little bit of a boost, plus get us closer to getting another one of those special slots in the future. Now, it's likely tough to see, but there is a seal spot right behind where the miniature is, and it actually connects into where the miniature goes, and I am along that path, so I can definitely go ahead and place one there. So I'm just moving it so you can see me placing it. I gain no benefit, but now I've at least connected into where the miniature is. Now, instead of dealing with the needle claw that's in the same space as me, I'm going to have my character go ahead and push it out. It only needs 3 push, and I have exactly that. So my character that is up here is going to push the needle claw out. The question is here or here. That's actually quite a good question. I'm thinking about heading over here. So let's push it down to this location. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to actually interact with this familiar window that I opened up. It's going to cost an action. An opportunity attack would normally happen if there's an enemy there, but there is not. And it says place your agent in any other room with the eye symbol. So let's hop through that familiar window exploration card and we're going to pop out right here. My next action is going to be to move. We're simply moving into the summoning room. And while in here, we're going to go ahead and rotate for my third action in any direction we want, any ring we want. And it says all fiends in this world are going to move 1 space towards me. So by interacting with this, I've drawn a lot of attention. Again, when you're moving the different fiends, make sure if you have more than one path, you're choosing the lower numbered room. I'm going to choose to rotate the outer ring 45 degrees headed this way because it can be any direction. So we'll go 45 degrees for the outer ring. That's how it moves. And that's going to shift up these two together, which means I can then try and get a greater seal into that skull location in the future. Now I've got one nurse in the same space as me. Let's try and deal with it so we can have a clean room at least for a little bit, and things may move later on and who knows what will happen. But 2 is going to use slow and frail, a free action to banish. So let's see if we can deal with that nurse that's in the room with us. We got ourselves 3 push. That is more than enough. I'm going to shove her all the way around to where the Monarch is. Oh no, this is a horrible card to get as a shimmer card, pulling fiends from connected rooms. I've also gone ahead and bumped up my shift track. We are 2 away from a forced shift. And unfortunately, that move, even though it was good for me strategically on the dials, was not great with the fiends. Well, I'm not going to lie, this is absolutely terrifying as we now go into the event phase. The event phase for Chapter 6 is going to be, a movement. Oh no, it's going to mess with the dial, rotating it on the outside 45 degrees twice. After not seeing the dial move off the event card for a little bit, I was getting a little too comfortable with that. It looks like it came back to bite me. So that completely throws off any connection to a special slot at this point. Next, all the fiends that are in rifts are going to shift. We're definitely going to have some shifting in the rifts between the 2 environments. And it mainly occurred with individuals that were up north. And again, if there's any groupings, only 1 is going to shift in those cases. It was pretty nasty what happened over here with this individual Blade, with all those enemies being broken up in a way they were all in different rooms of different types, and there was only 1 of each of them. So they all managed to move in. If there had been doubles of any, it wouldn't have been as bad when they moved in, but it got really nasty really quick. And of course, I'm talking about the shimmer card that caused them to move. It was a valid move that all of them went in there, which is absolutely horrific. Now we're going to go ahead and move the fiends 2 spaces for the needle claws if they're actually not in a space with an agent. And of course, if they're in an environment that has no agents like the above here, they're heading towards rifts. The needle claws have been handled. They're happy to be in spaces with agents or to be in spaces with rifts. So in this case, we're good there. And now we're moving on to the skinwalkers who have 1 movement. So we had a few skinwalkers move. The one that was sitting in the group of 2 here goes to the lower numbered room. There's no agents in this area, so it's headed towards a rift. These 2 over here came towards the middle as they try to get close to an agent. It now says incoming death. That's exactly how I feel. If there are 2+ rifts open, which there are, the strongest fiend in each world is going to move 1. With no agents over here, the strongest fiend's going to head towards a rift, and so it's going to be this one going towards this rift. And over here, the strongest fiend that is not already paired up with an agent is going to be outside here. So one of these 2 is going to go ahead and move, and it's heading straight in. The card now tells us if there's no needle claws, spawn a needle claw in the summoning room. There definitely are. And then we resolve the Monarch activation. We're still inside of chapter number 3 per the top card over here. It says always, agents in the Monarch's world resolve the trauma cards. This is probably going to kill Blade. I'm not feeling too comfortable about this situation. So first off, he's going to go ahead and pick up a ritual component and then discard the rest in the room, but that's not going to happen in this case. Tooth and Nail here has us rolling 4 banished dice. We've done this before, so here we go. Now the downside is if I choose to reroll anything, I'm going to be losing a health, which is going to immediately remove the cube and the card there. So here we go. Yikes, this is going to be bad probably. All right, so we only got 1 that time, so we're probably going to stomach that, I think, because I don't want to take too many more hits. geez, this is a hard trade-off. Do we want to re-roll? I mean, I guess if we did re-roll, we re-roll just the one, so that's kind of pointless. So we'll take the one hit and be okay with it, even though I'm not. Removing the card and resetting the track. So now the brink of death shows up. If our health goes from 3 down to that, we die, and that is going to be the end of the game because both of the agents have to get out of the entrance area after we seal away the Monarch. So if we die before that, that is it. Now we re-roll and do this again because we have 2 of these to trigger. And actually, because I took 1 there, I get the good laugh. So I'm going to gain some potential back. So that's good. I go up by 2. I also go up by 1 on my sword. So I'm at 2 on that. Let's roll and see what happens for this next tooth and nail. It's going to be, oh my gosh. We're going to do a little trade-off here, taking a health hit in order to re-roll 3 of these because we cannot have that many pushes coming through. We're going to be in big trouble. Here's hoping because I only have 2 more I can take. If I see 2 on this dice, that is it for me. No. And that, my friends, unfortunately is going to be a death and the end of Blade, which means we have lost the game. And with that loss, it concludes the preview series for Below the Asylum from Awaken Realms. So a couple things I want to mention about the play. I did make life a little harder on myself inside of part number 1. There were instances where I had no fiends inside the room that I was taking in action where there was an opportunity attack icon. And in those cases, I shouldn't have actually taken any opportunity attacks. That might have occurred a couple times through that play, making my life a little harder in some instances. But generally what happens with that and the thought process around it is if there's no fiends in a room when you take one of those actions, the icons there is a reminder for you to take an attack if a fiend exists. If they don't, just ignore it completely and continue on. Now, when you take an opportunity attack, it depends on which fiends are in there. If you have 2 nurses in there, you're going to take a look at your reference card and you're going to see what you're going to be drawing for opportunity attacks. It's going to be 1 for every nurse. So if there's 2 nurses, you're drawing 2 opportunity attack cards, and you're going to be looking at the top section of the card, and you saw this in part number 1 and in this game as well. Now, of course, if you get up to the stronger enemies, let's say you have a nurse as well as a needle claw in the same space, things get even more rough because now you're going to be going in with 1 pull and 3 pulls. So now you've got 4 opportunity attack cards to deal with at the very top. And that, of course, is going to escalate how much pain is coming your way. So it is always a good idea to be focusing on banishing to either push or kill off or shift enemies in your space. And of course, you can try and do all this through a variety of means besides just banishing. I mean, the cat with a conductor is a huge strategic advantage. You can use the cat a lot. I didn't make use of it as much as I probably should have. If I was to go ahead and replay this right now, I'd probably use the cat even heavier because it allows me to move it around. It allows me to push things out of rooms and kind of keep the conductor safe. You notice that the second I kind of separated those 2 individuals and wasn't using them together in terms of their synergy, that caused a disconnect where the conductor was not able to kind of handle certain situations that it got into. Although, ironically, Blade was the one that actually took the most damage and the most trauma by a long shot. Now, something else strategically you can do in order to get additional seals in the game and also mitigate the number of rifts that were coming out, as I had a total of 6 in play, is to use the close a rift action. So if you are in a room with a rift and another agent is in the mirroring room, you can then remove the rift and all adjacent rifts and apply a seal. So that can come in handy, especially as it gets towards the end of the game and you see the game state having multiple rifts. You can start to maximize how many you close up and get additional seals in the process. That's going to wrap things up. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate the support. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any thoughts or questions you'd like to voice out there to the community. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Join our Discord or Facebook group where we talk about all solo games at all times. And as always, keep on rolling solo.